I think it's such a shame. That was long what?
If that was wrong, why are you considering changing the tax status of Harvard?
Because I think Harvard's a disgrace. I think what they did was a disgrace. They're obviously anti-Semitic, and all of a sudden they're starting to behave. But when you see what they were saying, what they were doing, when you see the way they took care of events, when you watch that woman, that horrendous president that ruined the image of Harvard, maybe permanently, in Congress, in the halls of Congress, when you take a look at what happened there, it was horrific. And, I've looked at a lot having to do with it. I'm not involved in it. It's being handled by lawyers. I read about it just like you did. But tax-exempt status, I mean, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. And it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard, too. By a lot more than Harvard. So we'll see how that all works out. I don't think they've made a final ruling.
President Donald Trump gets sued by Harvard. Bonus checks of $5,000 are being discussed, and these are different from the Doge dividend stimulus checks. And Rosie O'Donnell just can't help but keep talking about President Trump, even though she no longer lives here in the United States. Guys, we have a lot to go through today, so let's go ahead and get started with Harvard suing the president.
Breaking news in our politics lead, Harvard University is now suing the Trump administration over the administration's threats to cut billions of dollars from the university's funding. It's the latest escalation in the showdown between Harvard and the Trump administration after Harvard's leaders rebuked Trump's demands to change key policies and courses even. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is at the White House. Jeff, what is Harvard University's president saying about the lawsuit?
Well, Jake, this lawsuit is coming in. It's being filed against a variety of different agencies and cabinet secretaries, from RFK Jr. at the Department of Health and Human Services to Pam Bondi to the Defense Department. Basically all the agencies that have some funding for research programs at Harvard University. But we've just obtained a letter from the Harvard president that explains what is at stake here. And Alan Garber, the president, writes this. He said these actions have stark real-life consequences for patients, students, faculty, staff, researchers, and the standing of American higher education in the world. He goes on to say the consequences of the government's overreach will be severe and long-lasting. So, Jake, what's at issue here is the proposed freezing of funds of some $2.2 billion, and then a new potential round of funds being frozen of $1 billion.
That's right. And I go back to George Washington University in Washington, D.C. My oversight committee, toured the demonstrations when they blocked buildings. They were blocking Jewish students from entering buildings at George Washington University, and nothing was being done. The local law enforcement wasn't going in there. The mayor wasn't moving. The university presidents were afraid to say anything publicly. I'm not going to say what they told us privately. But at the end of the day, you had similar situations in Harvard. We received messages not only from Harvard students, but their parents saying that their Jewish children do not feel safe on campus. And for Harvard to be, the one of the flagship universities in America, to demonstrate this type of lack of concern for civil rights laws is very concerning. And then you throw on top of that, Jason, as we already said, the amount of federal funding they get. And let me be very clear with Harvard University. Their federal funding, 100% of their federal funding is at risk if they do not comply with my and Representative Stefanik's request.
Now, we should hear what Harvard has to say about this. According to their president, the federal government pulling this money from them is unlawful, and that it's beyond the government's authority to do so. Now, again, I want you to remember that we're talking about federal funding here, which makes this response from Congressman Tim Burchett make all that much more sense. He asked on his X account if it's unlawful and beyond the government's authority to decide where it sends our money. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? They filed a lawsuit against the commander-in-chief because they think that he doesn't have the authority to freeze federal funds. And I really don't know about you guys, but isn't Harvard supposed to be composed of the best of the best? And yet we're talking about federal funds that they believe can't be held by the federal government. Harrison Fields, a White House spokesperson, made it very clear that this money is not owed to Harvard. In a statement, Field says, the gravy train of federal assistance to institutions like Harvard, which enrich their grossly overpaid bureaucrats with tax dollars from struggling American families, it's coming to an end. Taxpayer funds are a privilege, and Harvard fails to meet the basic conditions required to access that privilege. And while they may have the funds to pay for legal fees, I really don't think that they have much of a chance in this case. Look, I mean, they already have an endowment of over $50 billion, yet they're out here complaining over a few $1 billion extra. And I think Scott Jennings made a very clear point regarding this issue.
Democrats be complaining about Harvard, like 96% of the political contributions from the faculty go to Democrats from Harvard. There's no diversity of thought among the faculty there. And by the way, I should say, I've had some experience with it. I was a fellow at the IOP. Kristen was as well. I taught a class at the Harvard Kennedy School for a number of semesters. I had a good experience, but I think...
But no diversity of thought, apparently.
But I think in recent years, particularly since October the 7th, the civil rights of these Jewish students on campus have clearly been violated. I don't think the university, Harvard, Columbia, a lot of these other Ivies have taken near enough steps to protect these students. They've been chased around campus, barred from buildings. Buildings have been taken over. I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on. And here's the deal. They take federal money. They have a $53 billion endowment. They take federal money. If you want to continue to take federal money, you're going to have to listen to the people who dole it out. And that's the Trump administration who are standing up for these Jewish students. If they want to give up the federal money, you can create, I guess, the culture of hate that you want, and that's fine. But right now, they're entangled with the federal government, and they're going to have to deal with the president.
From freezing money, let's now move over to giving money to the people. So let's talk about the numbers for a second, guys. The average senior overpays by hundreds of dollars a year on Medicare because they picked the wrong plan, or maybe they were sold one that didn't even fit their needs. But a company called Chapter is fixing all of that. In fact, they compare every single plan in your area, not just the ones that they get paid to show you, and they help you to find the ones that actually save you the most money, the ones that fit your doctors and unlocks any hidden benefits. Julie from Kansas switched with her help and saved $400 a year. Jamie in Texas, she reclaimed $600 back. Chapter's advisors, they treat you like family, and it's completely free. There's no commissions, there's no upselling, just clarity. So if you or someone you love is on Medicare or about to be, don't wing it. Just call Chapter at 909-563-8279, or I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to click the link and visit their website. So President Trump was asked about providing $5,000 to mothers in order to increase birth rates. Well, here's what President Trump had to say about that.
Mr. President, there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some kind of bonus so that they have child. Were you considering that? Or?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Maggie Anders is the host of Undoctrination and a content creator for the Foundation for Economic Education. She joins me now. Maggie, what do you think? Is a $5,000 incentive a good idea for people to have kids?
Well, Todd, thank you so much for having me this morning. While I wholeheartedly agree with the Trump administration that America is facing a fertility epidemic, I don't think a $5,000 baby bonus is really going to cut it. You know, some estimates put the average cost of raising a child in America at $23,000. By the time that child is 18, that's $414,000, not accounting for inflation or the cost of college tuition. Americans are facing a cost of living crisis. We're tired of being taxed to death, and we're tired of our dollar being devalued through wasteful government spending programs and Federal Reserve money printing. And I think this is going to make that problem worse.
Now, it might help if the Trump administration can find enough savings and provide that as an incentive. That way, it won't contribute to inflation. But I have a feeling that this might not go the way that the president wants it to. Although, kudos to him for even talking about the issue in the first place. Our fertility rates, it's well below the rate that's needed to replace the population. And I hope that some incentive is at least provided to encourage folks to prepare the nation for the future. But as it stands right now, the costs are way too high to even think about it. Now, let's talk about Rosie O'Donnell, a celebrity who suffers from an incurable disease called TDS. Her Trump derangement syndrome was so bad that she moved to Ireland, and yet she continues to appear on our TV screens, probably because she can't get a job over there. Now, I want you guys to watch a snippet of her interview with CNN, and you tell me what you guys notice about this.
Yes, as you know, some people entertain the idea of moving abroad after the 2024 election. You actually did it. Tell us about your experience so far, and do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country. And although I was not one of the celebrities who announced that that's what I would do, I made the decision within my family and my therapist. And should he win, and then when he did, we made the plan into action, and we were gone before he was inaugurated.
Now, sadly for her, Americans are very happy with the president. His polling numbers continue to go up, and he's more popular today than he was during his first term. But at least she stood by her own ideals and did what many celebrities couldn't. She actually left the country. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. Now, if you have some time, I urge you guys to watch my previous live stream. I talked about entitlement programs here and what changes are being proposed as we speak. This is a very important update, guys, so make sure you check that out. As always, thanks for your time. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.